So there's been a lot of talk about the big Comic Cons, San Diego,
San Diego, New York,
and
Boston, yeah.
San Diego's in a little battle with the Salt Lake City
UConn, really? They're involved too?
Salt Lake City Comic Con
Yeah.
about the use of the name
Trademark, yeah.
Comic Con.
Yeah, it's been going on a while.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, what they were trying to say is that the word comic-con, COMIC hyphen CON, was theirs, and that was trademarked by them. And then all these other comic cons have spread out throughout the country, and there's variations on how to spell it. Some do it with one C, some do it as two words, some do it as one word. It's like in the world of marketing and advertising, like Band-Aid. Band-Aid is not the name of the plastic adhesive strips that you put on a cut. That was the brand, and everyone just assumes that's what it is. Xerox, we used to make Xerox copies. That's not the name of the actual black and white reproduction. That was the name of the company that made the copier, Xerox. But there was other companies out there. What happens is once that genie's out of the bottle and becomes public knowledge and public domain, people just assume that's what it is. And whenever they hear the word Comic-Con, it's a comic convention. They've been going on since the 60s. They were in New York in 1964. And then there was the Phil Sullivan shows that ran in New York for years and stuff. So everybody just knows what that is when you hear the word. It's like corner deli. You know how many corner delis there are out there? Every corner has a corner deli, you know? There's not one. Or New York Ray's famous pizza. You know how many New York Rays there are? So what San Diego was trying to say is that that was their brand and they owned it. And all these other shows that popped up across the country and they're all calling themselves Comic-Cons, they want to stop that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you can't do that. And what happened is the trademark office, USPTO, the United States Postmark Trademark Office, they granted Salt Lake a trademark. So they kind of blessed it and said, this is fine. And then what happened is San Diego protested that. So then they had to pull that down. So that trademark dispute between the two of them is going back and forth. The claim that San Diego has is it confuses the consumer when they see that name and think it's theirs. And then the people in Salt Lake City's defense is like, well, everybody, like I said, corner deli, it's just a generic term at this point. So why? But when there's lots of money and there's lots of lawyers involved, they'll drag this thing on forever. So whether I think they're right or wrong, I think it's a moot point, to be honest with you, because what are you going to do? Tell everybody out there to change the name of the show to Comic Conventions or Comic Expos or Comic Fest or I would do a terrific con. There's no such thing. I'm the one that owns that. You look that up. It says trademark and own.
There you go.
So.
There's been a big theme about the bigger shows becoming more media based, and as opposed to what you strive for is continue with the comics, artists comics. Mile High Comics, for example, one of the biggest comic book stores in the country.
Yeah.
It's always been at San Diego.
Not
They're
anymore.
now leaving. Your
After
thoughts on that?
41 years. Well, look, when you do these big shows, you have to get bigger venues. Bigger venues means higher rent. Higher rent means that they got to somehow get the money. So what they do is they turn it back towards the exhibitors and they raise the prices of the booths to make the fact that they have to pay these rental fees. So a guy like Mile High Comics, who you mentioned, they've been there forever. And then they have to rent more and more space, but it costs them more and more to do that. But the return has come down. You know what I'm saying? Because you have so many movie actors there. If movie actors are charging $100 for an autograph, well, that's $100 that you're not going to go buy some comic books. So it's hard for him to justify spending all this money for an exhibit space, but he's not going to get any money back. There's no ROI on that, return on investment. So it's sad to see that, but there are definitely two schools of thought. The fans that want to go see these movie stars might not read the comic books. They might know only the Avengers from the movies, or they might know Arrow from the TV show. They've never picked up a Green Arrow comic book or Avengers comic book. So to them, it makes sense. Just keep it movie stars, movie stars, movie stars. For those guys, like Mile High Comics, they want the comic book people. So they do well in an environment like my show because it is based on comic book artists, comic book writers, and that type of, atmosphere and such. So comic book dealers are the majority of my exhibitors. I mean, you go down every aisle, there's different comic book shops. There's, Harrison's Comics, Super World Comics, all the ones in New England, some even from Florida, come up to my show just because they know it's for the comic book fans and people who wheel and deal. CGC is going to be there this year. CBCS.
Yes.
they'll be there. So these are people that invest in comics, and you can put them in the bags and the plastic slips and flip them. So it's a comic book show.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I feel bad for Mile High because they're not going to be at San Diego, but I think San Diego's kind of turned into, transformed, evolved into something that it wasn't 30 years ago when these guys used to make their money.
Gotcha.
So it's just a business decision, really. What are you going to do?
Would you ever reach out to them, or you think that's too much of a travel to Mile High?
No, they could come. Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're legendary. That's like the biggest comic shop. Well, Midtown Comics, everybody knows them, but Mile High is humongous. Yeah, if they want to come out there, can't think of the guy's name. I think it's Red or the fellow that owns it. Chuck. Yeah, that's it. If he wants to come out to Connecticut. Next year we'll have the Exposition Center at Mohegan Sun, 4 times bigger than we are now. So we'll have a lot of space, and the rates are good. I've always been told by a lot of exhibitors I have like the lowest priced exhibit spots. So, yeah.
Nice.
And we get 20,000 people, so it's a good turnout,